Hi and welcome to episode 16 of the F1GridView. Today we'll be race reviewing the Austrian GP. This is Harsangvi and there's Mihika with you. Hi Mihika.
Hi.
How was Plan E, the race to explode?
Honestly, really good. It
Yeah,
was pretty entertaining, I would say.
yeah, it was
Uh,
fun.
a lot of battles. The best one was when there are 5 cars battling for one position.
So good. We had both the Hasses in there. We had Joe in there, we had Fernando in there, and we had Lando in there. And I think Lando and Magnussen were the ones who like took more advantage of it and went ahead. But
Yeah.
that moment just shows that these new regulations work. Like they do.
So I think the main part that shows is that Haas
Yeah.
is competing.
Yeah, double points uh two twice 2 weeks in a row. Actually three. Like they scored in the sprint also. So like that's fabulous for Haas, and I get to double points, and Mick rightfully being annoyed at the end of the sprint because he knew he was clearly faster, and when he had the opportunity to show it in the race, he clearly did show it. And P6 is a fantastic result. The only teams ahead him uh, were obviously the quicker teams in the Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, and Alpine's. Ocon is also ahead, but they were definitely faster cars than him.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a really good weekend overall, I would say, other than Carlos Sainz engine failure.
Yeah. I mean, it looked similar to this orange fire that lit up, and yeah, but let's get to the crust of it. Red Bull have lost. Their golden boy has lost at the Red Bull Ring. I mean, that's gotta hurt. That's really gotta hurt.
Very sad.
Yeah. And you don't see this because everybody was so confident of how dominant they were going to be at these inclines and at these higher
Yeah.
levels. You always see the Red Bull being the better car and being the quicker car, but they were really uh, outpaced, I would say. And
Definitely.
Ferrari knew like if they could take the pit stop later, they knew they could overtake them on track. So that was what
Yeah.
it was.
I think even from the practice rounds, it was, I think they had put up a stat. It was Charles, then Carlos, then George, and then Max in speed.
Yeah.
So with like the straights and everything. And it just showed how much Ferrari has improved over the few races that, went bad for them. And at the same time that like everyone was so confident that Max will win. Like we saw how they had kept the podium for number one on the top, and everyone was like, oh yeah, that's only for Max, but that didn't happen.
It was a really fun race. It was
Yeah.
really interesting to see how the strategies were planning out, and very weird stat. Pirelli normally is the tire companies normally as such that they suggest an extra pit stop, but they were suggesting that a one stopper was going to be ideal, and the degs on the tire were really ridiculous. Like Max just saved himself from a two stopper. He actually could have ended up being a three stopper for Max because of how badly his tires were degrading. So
they all were having pretty bad degradation. Like even hard tires were degrading very fast.
yeah, they
The
were.
highest, the longest that the hard tires went on was for 33 laps for Bottas.
Wow, and he really pulled them 33 laps
Yeah.
because it just looked like they were really degrading, and they were degrading worse for Red Bull. So if we come to the stops and we come to where the pit stops were, we'll actually see that Max's mediums lasted lesser time than Lewis's hards did, which is very abnormal. So yeah, there was something really different with the Red Bull car that was having a lot of degradation on the tires. Yeah. Uh, then getting to Ocon. Ocon had a fantastic sprint, quali, and a race. A solid P5 to get them on equal points with McLaren for P4. And McLaren has announced that they're not going to be bringing any new upgrades. And Alpine still does have a few upgrades left. So I don't know. I see the P4 slipping from McLaren's grasp at this point.
Definitely. I mean, even though Daniel and Lando both had a decent weekend, both of them ended up coming into points.
Yeah, they did.
It still shows that, Alpine still has a chance to go do better, because even Alonso was performing pretty good. He was P5 for quite some time, if I'm not wrong.
He was for quite a while. And the
Yeah.
only reason he had to pit was this nut bolt was not attached very tightly. So he had to come in and make a double pit stop essentially. And he still
Yeah.
ended in the points. He still made it to P10, which was fabulous. Just shows how good this Alpine has been this year. And yeah, and Fernando Alonso is hands down the most unluckiest person on this planet. Had such a great quali this whole year. Like I will say there have been some unlucky drivers in F1, but 2022 Fernando Alonso, you cannot get unluckier than that. So yeah, we take it ahead. What happened in the sprint with Fernando?
Um,
His his car didn't stop at his car and didn't stop
oh, yeah.
from the start grid. He had a lot of issues getting the car to start. Basically, the battery pack and power pack didn't work, and they couldn't take the what do you call it, the covering from the tire.
Tire warmers.
The tire warmers were not able to come out, and they just kept
Yeah.
there, and he kept there, and then just seeing him getting pulled in the pit lane and seeing him not take part in the sprint was a little, because he's somebody who will give it his all for even 5 laps or 6 laps. And just having that sprint and having Alonso would have been fabulous.
Definitely. I mean, he had a bad sprint. Even Joe had a pretty
Yeah.
normal sprint, I would say.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
did qualify. He did do well, but then the sprint didn't work out well. So yeah, let's get on to our qualifying first. So we had qualifying on Friday today, this week. So the qualifying,
A lot of people were forgetting that it was on Friday.
yeah, a lot of people did, and so that for that you please have to follow us on Instagram so you do know the timings. And we have got a lot of feedback that we should be posting it quicker. So I think we'll upgrade our schedules and make sure that we do post it earlier in the week also.
Definitely.
So yeah, Max was
Okay, so
qualified on pole for Friday's quali.
let's start from the bottom. We saw Daniel, Lance, Joe, Nicholas, and Sebastian get out in Q1.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty bad quali for McLaren.
I agree.
Both
Not
McLaren.
I have a problem with this McLaren fans on Twitter also. Like, are they just Lando fans? Are they McLaren fans? I don't understand, because the hate Daniel was getting after him getting out of the call of Q3. I understand he's not done well. He's not as good as Lando has been this year. But the hate he got saying how bad he is, how beautiful the car is working, and everything of that sort. And the second you saw Lando Norris also getting eliminated at P15, it all became how crappy the car is, how bad it is. Nothing to do with like how Lando was driving. It's just the car that was at fault. And when Daniel was driving, it was all Daniel's fault. The car's fantastic. So yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy, but that is just F1 Twitter, I guess, at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that for a lot of people. So
yeah. So yeah, Daniel P16, both the Aston Martins out, Joe out, and Nicholas Latifi out at P19.
Yeah. Yuki, Bottas, Alex, Pierre Gasly, along with Lando, were out in Q2.
Correct. A lot of deleted times there. A lot of track limit violations.
Okay. Another thing was that Pierre Gasly could have had a chance to get into Q2, into Q3, have his times, because they deleted Perez's lap times pretty late.
Correct. After the race, after the whole
quali.
So he came down from P4 to P13, and that also gives Pierre Gasly's chance to go into the top 10 and maybe fight for a position higher up ahead the Haas's or the Alpines. Who knows how that will. Yeah. Lewis Hamilton at P10.
Yeah.
He had a shunt.
P10 was also 113. So I'm pretty sure Gasly would have crossed P10 at least.
Yeah. And his P10 also was due to him crashing out.
Okay.
So he could have
Exactly.
started P9 ideally.
Exactly.
So
And even George had crashed. So
correct. But George did put in a great couple of laps, but he went off the
definitely.
exact same way as Hamilton did. There was something with the wind there that was very strong, and the Mercedes couldn't actually hold it together, and they did both crash very similarly. Uh, Perez finishing in P4, Carlos P3, Charles P2, and Max P1. At this point, the Ferrari didn't look as challenging enough as the Red Bull. They were doing fine. If you see the gap, there is hardly any gap there. It's
Yeah.
2/300ths of a second, but
Hundreds.
still it didn't look that breaker gap. It just looked, you could see how like Max is in his own zen and he was just composed and calm. He knew it was his to lose or his to lose essentially. So yeah,
Yeah.
very unexpected results, but yeah, this is how the qualifying panned out.
But we also saw a lot of Ferraris fighting amongst each other.
Yeah, no team orders there for Ferrari, which is very strange, I guess, at this point. Now you know which horse you're betting on. You know you're going to take Charles to the end and you want him to win. Why would you not just ask Sainz to hold position? Why would you not just tell him to just relax and not make
I
those
mean,
dive bombers
the
in front of Sainz?
about how last week when Benotto was talking to Charles, he was actually saying that, today we've let Carlos win, but next time we have a nice surprise for you.
One of my favorite reminded me of the tail wagging was Alonso with Yuki driving through, and Alonso just like asking him to drive properly or just like wagging is like, don't do that, or you see what happens. He went on the grass. He overtook Yuki on the grass. I don't know how that man does it. Uh, yeah, I'm just a fan. I'm sorry.
He is still so just like out of any luck.
I'm just a fan. I love Yuki's response also. Yuki had nothing to say during the race, but he's put up a story today morning with the salute emoji to Alonso. Like, I understood your finger wagging. So yeah, that whole thing was very cute. Yeah.
Okay, moving to the sprint.
Yes.
Verstappen still had a huge chance.
Yep.
There
So
was
when
no way the
Verstappen took ahead when he got the lead, he just kept maintaining it. And for the first couple of laps, it also helped where the Ferraris were fighting amongst themselves to get P2.
Yeah.
And obviously that slowed the two of them down, and Max could just keep increasing his lead. But this is where the problem actually started for Red Bull. Towards the last 3 of the 23 laps, you could see that Max was losing time to Charles. And the main reason of that was degradation on the tires. So the tires kept degrading. And of course, this was you would see more of this tomorrow in the main race, but the tires keep getting degraded, and he did lose a lot of time, and it didn't ever look like Leclerc would catch up, but you could essentially see him lose a lot of time because that gap was around 4 or 5 seconds before lap 18 or 19, and that just
there was a huge gap that
yeah.
he had built on, and then because that we saw that towards the end, and that's how we realized that
Yeah, there is something that this Ferrari, it might not be that easy a fight or a easier win for Max at this point. Yeah. So yeah, Russell came into P4. Perez did really well to get from P13 to P5. Yeah, there was some great overtake.
We've always seen him, overtake great places. He has
I
been
feel
good at
Perez does best when his back is against the wall. He's going first and he's starting last, or he's doing
that didn't work in his favor during the main race.
But this car was really badly damaged. I don't think even if
he also had a huge gap.
Yeah,
he had a 40-second gap.
He had a 51-second gap, and when they made Russell stop and service 5-second penalty for causing that collision, Russell was still 25 to 35 seconds ahead. And when he kept going and racing around the track, he kept losing almost 1.5-2 seconds per lap, which is unheard of. And your car is essentially damaged, and there is no point running it in the race at all. So because I think it was a 6th lap or 7th lap, he could have 8th lap, he could have almost got Max DRS to keep him ahead of Leclerc. So Max was lapping him by the 8th lap. So you understood how bad it was for Perez. So Yeah, sorry, starting again from the bottom. Alonso's didn't start the sprint, so he started P20. He started P19 in the actual race because of the engine penalties that Bottas took to start P20.
Yeah, Vettel spun and which
Yeah, Vettel did spin there. Sonoda P17, Albon P16, Gasly P15, Joe 14, Stroll. Nothing very impressive from them. Norris and Ricardo, I thought was a good battle. I thought Ricardo was just inching towards going ahead of Norris, but they kept on the McLaren app, and you saw on social media they kept telling Ricardo to hold position, not make dive bomb attempts at Norris, and not both of them lose their chances. So yeah, I don't know what's happening with McLaren, but they really need to sort the team orders out at this point.
The best part of the sprint was Lewis Hamilton versus Mick Schumacher.
Yep. And that was just fabulous. Like I could see some of Michael and Mick at that point, and you really realized why he's got to F1. He's not just daddy's cash at this point. It's not your everyday Lance Strolls or Nicholas Latifi's. He's a genuine fighter. And you've seen that in Formula 2. If you have followed his career in Formula 2, he's actually very well known for just taking the lead, staying ahead, and then defending like a lion, essentially. So he did really, really, really well. And yeah, he didn't let Lewis up through for almost 4 or 5 laps. If Lewis had got through Mick, he could have easily got through Hamilton, could have easily got through Magnussen and Ocon for that matter, I feel. And yeah, that would have been devastating, I think, for any other team. And he would get up to P2 or P3 in the race also. So yeah, without any failures. So Bottas P10, and Bottas P10, Mick P9, Hamilton P8, Magnussen P7. So the new rules of sprint racing say that the first 8 get points, not just the first 3. So Mick also just missed out on a point there. So everybody from Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Russell, Perez, Ocon, Magnussen, Hamilton did get points. So yeah.
The race.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, Perez had a very bad start.
Correct.
There were memes about how George is learning from Lewis and stuff like that. There's nothing to say there. Latifi, not very surprised. I mean, he would have been P18 either ways.
Yeah.
Sainz.
My favorite moment was when people started tweeting. I think it was Chris Madlet's tweet on Twitter, which said that Latifi retires #F1, and everybody was losing their shit. Everybody knew he retired from the race.
The comment section was like the best.
Was so mean. I mean, people can't wait to get Oscar Piastri into that seat. But oh yeah, we'll come to that rumor later that is going around in the paddock. Okay, let's just get to it right now. Why beat around the bush? Ted Kravitz said it. Will Buxton said it in the post-race interview. There is a very, very, very likely chance that the only reason that Oscar Piastri hasn't signed on with Williams right now, and there's no possible announcement right now, because it looks like Ricardo might be the one who's getting replaced at McLaren. And Oscar Piastri might be taking that seat. So I know we all want to see Ricardo next year in F1, but who knows what's going to happen with that. He could possibly join Williams, or he could possibly shift to any other parallels, because McLaren has been racing in quite a number of categories. So maybe he could go to IndyCar or Formula E or something like that. But there are a lot of rumors in the paddock going around that Oscar Piastri might be replacing Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren. So yeah, let's hope for the best. Good luck, Daniel.
I hope that doesn't work out.
Yeah, but you've seen Ricciardo and Zach Brown state very well that they do want to continue this and take this ahead. So let's hope it stays that way. So Yuki's P16, Gasly's P15, Show P14, Stroll P13, Albon P12, Bottas P11. Just missing out on the points. Bottas and Alonso having a very interesting battle in the last lap or two, and Alonso just managing to hold on to the P10 and secure a point for his team. Ricciardo P9 showed good promise, I would say. Like got into the points after a while. So
Yeah.
So Ricardo, Magnussen P8. Norris had engine issues in practice, so he was on an older engine, and he
Yeah.
got his car to P7. Schumacher getting his best ever race finish at P6. Ocon also doing really well to get to P5. Uh, and as we always know, if there is anything goes wrong with the first two cars, the Mercedes are just there to take that positions in P3 and P4.
I think at this point, any podium Mercedes has gotten is only because of a Ferrari Red
Of
Bull
course.
DNF.
Of course. But that's literally been the history for the last 2 years. It's been a Ferrari or McLaren or an Renault have got onto the podium is because Red Bull and
Yeah.
Mercedes screwed up or had a DNF. Before that, it was always if Red Bull is on the podium
Yeah,
or
but it's so weird to see Mercedes at that position,
yes.
even if we've been seeing that for like the
But
past how many
that's the
years.
best part I feel about this season because Mercedes is doing so
Yeah.
well that they know they don't have a quicker car, they don't have the fastest vehicle out there, but they're keeping the reliability and they're keeping their drivers are like staying very very I would say consistent that they
Steady
getting
to
their podiums.
take the podium.
Yeah, they're just there. If there's any issues in the first two teams, they're always there to secure the P3. So yeah,
And Hamilton had a huge gap.
yeah.
Like everyone was waiting. Oh, now Verstappen and Charles have gone. Hamilton will take a few 15-20 minutes to come to the finishing line.
Yeah, Hamilton had a decent enough gap, like a 41.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't understand. Like I felt like Verstappen wanted to pit even for his third set of tires, and he could have easily done that and still come out P2. I think that was the whole plan when
But
Sainz-
during the time when he could have pit, the gap wasn't that huge.
correct.
It
So
was
what
around
I thought was when Sainz would overtake him and get P2 just before Sainz broke down, he was just going to overtake him, Max into
yeah.
that corner itself. Just before he broke down, I thought that Carlos will overtake Max and Max would come in a couple of laps later and put on some soft tires and just race to the end and still get P3. But then when it became to P2, I think they just eased off on the tires. They asked him to relax on the tires and just maintain his pace. And yeah, possibly get P2, which was the best I think he could do with that car with the degradation on the
I
tire.
think if a few more laps, if Max had like, even if he had 5 to 7 laps more, he could have
Yeah.
overtaken Charles at some point.
Yeah.
But definitely not if this was the result.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Wow, Ricardo is P1. Okay, so there were quick stops and there were some really slow stops also.
Yeah.
Everybody did a minimum of 2 stops. You had like 2 stops to get it
First
from.
stop for Verstappen was around 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 was a very slow stop for as compared to a
Yeah.
normal stop for Red Bull. So yeah, pretty good stops. Teams getting into the under 3 sub 3. So yeah, good on them.
The pit stops.
Oh yes, this is very interesting to me. So this race, because how Pirelli said it would be a very easy one-stopper, and just
Yeah.
like what, yeah. So look at that. Just look at how well Lewis Hamilton does on his hards, or everybody does on their hards, compared to Verstappen on his mediums. It really, really didn't make any sense why there was so much deck, but yeah.
I mean, the most weird part was that everyone was degrading so much, but Lewis had really good tires.
Bono, my tires are great. What is that statement? Like, how does that happen? I know Bono wasn't there in this race, so he didn't say Bono, my tires are great, but still,
Said tires are doing okay. Tires are good.
yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, 28 laps he went on with those mediums, and Verstappen was struggling.
Correct. So, yeah. The one I really like a lot is Alonso at P10. He goes on 27 laps on his hards. For another set of hards, he makes it to 57, and then he pits for medium tires, and he realizes they haven't put a nut on properly, and he has to come back the next round and take a
Yeah.
third pit stop, and he still manages to finish P10. That is
And I
fabulous.
mean, he got lucky because the second time he came in, it was around the time of the virtual safety car.
Yeah. I mean,
So it saved him
I
some
don't think
time.
I don't think that luck even factors into how much bad luck he's had this year. So yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I was very surprised that both the Aston Martins had no new tires. You have Vettel on old hards, on old mediums, then you have Lance on
Yeah.
old mediums, then going on to old hards and then new hards. Where did they end up using their tires before the race? Like, how did they have not even one new tire ready to go?
They used all of them in Q3.
Yeah, like what?
Q1.
Q1, they
Q1.
didn't make it to Q3. So, what was happening with the Aston Martins? I have no clue. Are they? Yeah, is Vettel now also trying to save the tires with the bees? We have no clue what's happening. He did get a penalty for storming off the drivers
Yeah.
leading. So
We also saw Leclerc, Verstappen, and Hamilton get a 10,000
yeah,
fine.
for that trainers coming and like messing with them at Park Ferme before they got paid. So yeah, they've been told that a number of times to not do that, and they still went ahead and did that. So fair enough. Like you can penalize them. Just
Yeah.
less money for Max to spend on FIFA, I guess. Um, yeah, moving on.
Okay. I'm
So
not sure if I'm happy with the change in P2 position for Leclerc.
why not? Are you a Leclerc hater?
I'm not a Leclerc hater, but like it was good to see Perez P2.
Yeah, but Red Bull won't have kept that for so long, anyways. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they could have kept it, but till the time he wasn't challenging Max, he was just Max was building a lead for himself. I think he would have been happy, but I don't think they would wanted Perez to mess with Max's flow, I guess. So yeah, uh, Perez and Sainz both getting 0 points, so nothing for them. Russell slowly and surely creeping in 128. Fantastic in that car is great.
Yeah.
Great all of points. Lewis Hamilton is 109, two back-to-back podiums for him. Norris 64, Ocon 52, Bottas 46, and Alonso 29. So yeah, Alpine has got two cars into the top 10. So yeah, that's definitely going to make the constructors P4 battle very interesting at this point.
The gap for Red Bull has been decreasing now.
Yeah.
Like they need to work on it because Ferrari has been getting P1 constantly,
Yeah.
and they
Uh,
really need to.
that also, and there is this Ferraris. We've talked about Ferrari's non-reliability, but Red Bull haven't been doing that great either with their drivers. They're either crashing out or they're having
The
some.
only one thing that I realized was that in the beginning, how Vettel into the 2018 got three P1s and then did not win any race.
Yeah,
Charles has finally, overcome that.
in that jinx,
He
he's won after Australia in Austria. So yeah, good
he
for him.
won.
But yeah, he's in a much stronger car. He's not racing like a Mercedes that is just going to beat him. So yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, I guess, till the end of the year. And yeah, like one more DNF for Max, and it just brings everything to a very equal standstill. I don't want that, but yeah, it's going to be interesting.
There are no teams with 0 points.
Yep.
Even Williams has points.
Yep, everybody has his 34. Who would have thought of this last year? 34 points. That is a great haul of points. They've jumped from P10 with 0
I
points
like
to
how even
P6.
Haas has been making so many memes about it.
Yeah, their social media team is great. Every time they get a point, I think every
The ship becomes bigger.
yeah, every 10 million they get, they just add it to the ship, to Gunther's ship, and he doesn't have to buy a
I
40.
think I don't know where the money is coming from because either the money goes into building the ship or building the car. This time both are doing pretty good.
Yeah, there are no upgrades there are no upgrades till now also. They're expecting upgrades after the summer break in Hungary. So yeah, let's see how that goes. Yeah, fantastic results though. This is a very interesting just a stat that we found. This is the number of points a driver has earned by his salary. Lance Stroll is getting a very good pocket money from his father at this point. Like really good allowances there. I don't know what is happening with the Canadian, but he has some really good pocket money.
Yeah,
Seb
but US dollars, not Canadian dollars.
yeah, I mean, still. So, Seb also for Daniel Ricciardo also has a very hefty paycheck, but not a lot of points. Fernando Alonso has a extremely hefty, one of the second or third highest pays in F1, but he's also got a good amount of points. He's also lost a good amount of points. So I don't know. I'm not going to hold that much ahead for him. Alex Albon also is done pretty well, but he's in a Williams. So how much do you expect? Lewis Hamilton, you can't measure that much because of how hefty his paycheck is. So yeah, Gasly, Norris, who've been our top, like the bang for the buck. It's George Russell and Perez because they have a good salary. It's not like they don't have a good salary, but they've also got a good consistent amount of points. Yuki, I'm sure, doesn't have a massive salary, but he's still got enough points. Similarly with Charles, I'm sure he has a big enough salary, but he's also justified that with the number of points he's got. Obviously, he's not world champion. He's like a Max is, or Alonso is, or a Vettel is, or a Lewis is. So he's not commanding that salary right now, but he's still got enough points.
Yeah. Nick is getting good pocket money now.
Yeah, Mick is finally getting some good money to show for his points. So yeah, a couple of more points for him, and he'll be at the bottom. I feel at this point because I'm sure his salary is not very high, but he's still getting a lot of points. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The best part.
Coming down to our favorite segment. So yeah, we rank drivers out of 10 points based on their overall how their weekend was. We judge them from free practice. This time we actually do have an entertaining Friday to judge them also because we have the qualies, we have the sprint, and we have the race. So yeah, we start from the bottom. Take it ahead, Mihika.
Okay, Perez had a good quali, but again exceeded track limits, so that doesn't count. He had a good sprint, I would say. Managed to go to P5.
I would agree with that.
And the car crash wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
So
George did get
again. I want to just say right away, I'm gonna subtract 1 point from George because he just got 5-second penalty. It did no good to Perez.
Yeah, it didn't do any good to Perez, but I don't really understand how that works. I'm still against it. Like, I don't think that should have been a penalty, but yeah, but they've set precedent from last year, so you have to follow those rules. So yeah.
Okay, so Perez will get a 6.5 because
yeah, a 6.5, 5.5, 6.5. Yeah.
Yeah. Latifi did nothing this weekend.
I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Carlos had a great qualifying. He had a good sprint. He was going to end up P2.
Bad race because of Ferrari.
So 7.5.
Yeah, definitely. Yuki had a decent weekend. 6.
Yeah, just very mediocre. I don't think. I think it was very average. So 5. Similarly with Gasly also, just 5.
Yeah.
Seb
he didn't have that good week. That good a weekend, so I would say a 5.
Yeah, Seb 2, 5. Joe made it to Q2. He made it to Q2. He did end up getting a place. He losing a place, but I think a 6 would do well. I think for Joe.
Lance did not have a good quali.
No.
Decent sprint.
Yeah. And he again similar to Joe, a 6.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah.
Albon had a decent. No, he didn't have a good quali.
He got out in Q1.
Yeah, a decent sprint.
Yeah.
5, I would say.
Yeah, I think he made up a lot of places, so I think a 6 would suffice. And also this is a good opportunity for the Williams to see how the upgrades were doing in clean air and fresh air because he didn't get to run last week at the British Grand Prix. So yeah.
But he made up 3 places, but there were 3 DNFs.
Yeah, but there were DNFs for Stroll and Zhou who gave 6 also. So
Yeah, but these guys,
It is-
he made up 3 places because Carlos, Nicholas, and Perez crashed. Did not finish the race.
fair. I will still give him a 6. I don't know. If we just
I'll
I
give
think
him-
fair, if he finished, he still finished ahead of Stroll and Zhou who started ahead him. So he did overtake them on the road. And if they get a 6, why
Yeah.
doesn't he get a 6?
Okay, let's give him a 6.
Yeah, thank you.
Bottas had a
Started from the
decent-
pits. Started P20
Yeah.
from the pits. Came up to P11. Missed out on the points, but I think here was a good effort. A
7.
Yeah.
Alonso had a pretty good race. Pretty good quality.
I don't know. I'm just gonna be a fanboy right now and just say 10. He did all he could. He did all he could. Like, how much is
Yeah.
that going to affect him? 8, I would say. I'll be reasonable. 8.
8, yeah.
Daniel,
Ricardo got into points. I'm giving him an 8.
what? 6.5 at max.
Okay, yeah, he missed out
That
on
would be
quality.
much better, and he was on an older engine. So 6.5. I'm gonna keep our
Okay.
Ricardo fandom aside.
97.
Yeah.
Magnussen had a pretty good race, pretty good weekend.
Yeah.
I would say
A solid 8.
7.
Yeah. Because of that car, what he's driving and getting these results, I would say an 8. Yeah, but a 7.5 works.
Mick outperformed him.
Yeah, so Mick is gonna get a 9. No, so that's okay.
Okay. Lando made up good points this weekend.
Yeah.
He'll get an 8.
Yeah, a 7.5, 8. Ocon is a 9 for me. He did really well.
Yeah, Mick, Ocon both are 9.
Yeah.
George, I would say 8.
Yeah, just steady enough, just there. He got the penalty,
Yeah.
but he made it there. So 8. Lewis is
Lewis, an 8.
okay. He did his quali was not that great. I'll take that.
And the only reason he got on the podium was because Carlos couldn't.
Yeah, but still he did manage to do that. So 8. Max is a 9. He didn't have
Max
that.
is an 8.5.
Okay, Max is an 8.5. It was more of the tire decks. Yeah, so I don't know what that was. So yeah, you could do that. Charles is a 9. Charles did really well. Charles is the 9, 9.5. I think anybody's a 10 at this point in this race. It was not a perfect race for anybody.
Yeah. Let's rate the constructors.
Okay.
Ferrari.
What we're done with the time. Will we like?
Oh.
I'll send you an. Oh, but I will not be able to send you a new link.
Why?
This recording saving will take 10 minutes.
So I'll send you a new link.
But Zoom is only busy, no, for me saving this.
Oh, never mind. That's it for today, guys.
So yeah, that's it from this week's episode of the F1 Grid View. We'll see you soon. Next week is not a race. The French Grand Prix is after a week. So
22nd to 24th.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Bye bye. Good night, Mihika.